Rehan, after many years, I think the last time we met 2018.
Yes, it's almost 5 years.
5 years now. Yeah. I think having you in the Finance for Non-Finance is like a must, giving your deep understanding of most of the giant FMCG around the globe. Your understanding of the FMCG industry and finance in particular is going beyond, and I'm really happy to have you on the show. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mahmoud. I'm really glad that we reconnect again. Yes, it's been 5 years, but in the past couple of days before coming here, I was thinking we had really an amazing, I would say almost 2 years of interaction. So it was really good to bring back those memories.
Great time. So usually we start our podcast asking about the purpose. Purpose and passion are connected, as you know. And knowing you have a passion, a very strong passion as well. You've proven everywhere I met you that you have a very strong passion for other stuff. So can you just take us a few minutes and explain what is your passion?
Okay, I'll have to take you through the journey first, because there was times where I was looking for passion and it was always coming up like, look, what's your purpose at work, and find your purpose. And I was thinking a lot about it, and then I would say I was almost like 15 years into my career where I discovered that I do have actually quite a strong passion towards unleashing the capabilities of I would say first it was about my team members, then it was the wider organization. And I just figured out there's something there that by doing those mentorship sessions, coaching sessions, I discovered that there is this self-worth, there's the satisfaction that keeps me going, wanting more. It's no more this daunting 1 hour booked in my calendar that I'm not, on the contrary, completely looking forward to those hours of mentorship, the relationship with the mentees. And then 2 years ago, I started even mentoring outside of finance. So, and this is where I started to see, obviously, it's a passion that is being seen by others, recognized by others, and people are reaching out, and definitely this is now became my thing. So I look forward to people reaching out from different seniority across the organization. Now also some people are reaching out from outside the organization. So I think you get this sense of confirmation when you see that others do recognize that there's something there that you do well, and you do it in a different sense than others. So yes, so that's my passion now, unleashing the leadership capabilities in others.
Okay, so usually our calendar is back to back and fully busy. So deciding your passion is something, I believe it's easy, but keeping the passion flowering and on track, that's the difficult job.
Yes.
So imagine you got multiple requests of a coaching session, leadership session for junior people, senior people within the organization, outside the organization, giving your back-to-back calendar. How do you balance between both, between your passion and things that you have to do as well?
Well, yes, it is. It gets more difficult, definitely. But then, just like everything, when you add the passion as a spice on top of any, I would say, any action or task that exists within your calendar, you find the time, you cut off time from other things, so you take a priority call on things, because eventually it sort of becomes your fuel. It's the positive energy that comes through the day. And I actually tell people, please book in advance, of course, as much as you can, but please book in advance. Nevertheless, this is something I'm not doing on top. If anything, it is the energizer that I have in my calendar. It is the fuel that I kind of helps me to get through the day and through all the other business priorities that come through. I try a lot as well to, as part of how I do it in some informal setup. So sometimes I take it outside the working day. I take it over coffee on a weekend, or during, on my way to the airport coming here. It happened. So sometimes I just make sure that, just like a hobby, I would have been reading a book in that time, or I would have been watching a Netflix episode or something. So I use my personal time. Sometimes I use and do the part that I can within my working day. So
Okay. Having such a passion and investing in people is something remarkable, especially from a finance leader. Being a finance person, knowing the cycle and business depending on finance as well in multiple areas. So dedicating some time as well to follow your passion, I really admire that.
thank you for saying that. And the payback, I didn't talk about the payback. So there is yes, a price we pay or I pay in terms of my time and the pressure it puts on my time and my calendar. But on the other side, the payback, which is either you unleashed really resources and capabilities that end up doing better within their area of responsibility, and eventually more things are smoother, projects gets done, results, performance improvement. So I wouldn't claim only goodness in terms of giving to others, but actually it pays back and give to the organization, gives to me as a finance leader. And actually when I started dealing with or coaching non-finance members of the organization, I started to see that actually goodness it becomes even in the aggregate more, because you end up dealing with better leaders and eventually better business performance. So yeah,
okay,
there is a good payback.
So using the payback period, it looks like an investment.
Yes.
So
again, the finance in me.
Exactly. So going back to the finance, how did you choose finance as a career?
Well, I don't think I sat with myself one day and said, okay, which career I'm going to go into. I think it's something that grew up. So my mom, God bless her soul, she was a finance planner when I started. I mean, when I was like, I most probably discovered that when I was like 9-10 years old, that, she's the one who comes back home with those old ledgers where, direct debits and credits are being recorded. The old calculators where you have those paper rolls and the numbers, and then she audits back the data. I helped in adding up numbers. So I think it grew up on me as a career choice, and then it kind of reflected on my love to mathematics, my A levels and math. I think it grew up, and eventually I made that choice. And I still have. I have to say, on top of everything we do as finance leaders, the love of numbers is something that, it stays, whether it's a Sudoku or, no matter what it is, or someone just asking why, what would be the discount percentage if we bought it this way or that way. So all of those small things in life that confirms that there is this love for numbers.
Yeah, just quick reflection. So I think people hate to do shopping with me, because when I did shopping, you see the product on the shelf in a different dimension.
Exactly, and then you start comparing cost per gram, cost per milliliter, and people think like, what are you doing?
Okay.
So yeah.
So if finance grew up in you gradually, inspired by your mom, so if you didn't choose finance as a career, what do you think will be your career? What else will you choose?
I think that might surprise you, but I think I would go into detective work. So as an investigator or, law enforcement, but through being a detective. I think I like this whole idea of not knowing the answer. The immediate answer is not really clear, and you have to look into the details, collect some info or some data, convert it to some info, and then eventually finding the solution. So I think it would have been that. Plus, I do love watching a lot of mystery movies and stuff. So I think there is something in there.
Okay, so there is a perception about the finance function that sometimes they act like the policeman, budget owner, detective approach to find the leakage of the budget, non-value added activity. Do you think
there's a link?
Detective skill is required in a way or another before you jump into our main subject?
Well, I believe there is big part of what we do in finance has to do with trends and analytics and telling stories by numbers, making the complex simple, aiding in decision making and solution finding, and aiding in project management. And so, if I look back on my career, I think there were lots of detection. I mean, I'm not even talking about here about audit and clear in your eyes sort of detective work, but I think yes, there is an aspect of it in finance. Finding solutions, understanding process linking, again, find data points that converts into some sort of information that you can actually take to the decision makers and drive direction in the organization. Identifying value in qualitative and quantitative aspects of the business. So yeah, definitely, I believe there is a link there. Definitely.
Okay, I agree with you. And going back to our main subject, today we have a unique subject, which is mind, soul, and heart of finance or finance business partner. I think the detective part would be the mind part, where you need to use your brain power to do the analytics and support the business. But we agree that there is a soul and heart at the same time. So now moving to the main subject, where we say we think empathy is an integral part of any leadership style. I think there is a study, I don't recall exactly, I need to check, but that number one required in the leadership style, especially these days, is the empathy. It's required mainly, even more recently these days. And being finance business partner is a mindset, is not a title. Everyone can be finance business partner. But being a finance business partner, you need to use the three elements of the mind, soul, and heart at the same time. So now, going back to the empathy, what role empathy plays in the role of the finance business partner in business? How you use empathy as a finance business partner to influence the business?
Yeah. Well, it's a very good question, and I like that we chose that as a title, and the fact that we're going to speak about heart, soul, and mind in finance business partnering, because I spent the first 10 years of my career focusing on the mind, the intellectual horsepower, and getting tasks done, achieving milestones, looking at performance. And then I was lucky that I got introduced to the concept of leadership intelligence, and the fact that leadership intelligence is not only the rational part, the mind part. There is the emotional part, and there is the spiritual part, the soul part. And then this is where it was like an aha moment of, okay, so it's not only about mind. No, it's not, and it's not enough. There is an aspect of when to use which, but not to exist with only one. And that's why empathy, I think, comes in, I believe, from how I've experienced it. Empathy comes from a strong mind, a feeling heart, and a soul that has understood the question of why we're doing this, why we're here, why we're choosing this decision versus the other, or this way of doing things versus the other. So it also comes together, the what, which is what and how, what we're planning to do as leaders, how we're going to do it, and then on top of all of that, the why. And frankly, I was lucky, I have to say, when I worked in different, as you referred at the beginning, different FMCGs and different companies, that the amount of mind, heart, and soul, this balance, is actually quite different between those companies. And then it kind of gave me the playground to practice this, to know, to experience more mind-driven decisions, more heart-driven decisions, more soul-driven decisions. And when we talk about the mind, I think this is more obvious for the finance person, for the business partner. But then when you start bringing in the heart aspect, the how are we going to do it, the people, the social skills, the bringing everybody into the decision, exciting others, and then you start answering different angle and different questions. And then when people get your partners, when they get into conversation with you, they recognize that you're not all and only about numbers. You have this sense of understanding their agenda, their needs, and eventually it becomes a much more fuller conversation, much more collaborative interaction. And then I also was quite lucky to go into an organization that really cares about the why. The why are we here? What are we what kind of goodness are we leaving behind us? What sort of are we making the lives of others better? Are we making our earth better? Are we making our organization better? Are we making our consumer healthier? Are we? So there was this focus of why, and not only sales and volume and top line. It was actually in the forefront of a lot of the discussions is the why. So eventually I came to the conclusion, okay, so leadership, actually the more balanced as a leader you want to be, and the more successful as a business partner you want to be, the more capable you are of balancing the three and bringing in which one of them is going to take the forefront is something that is you're more agile about and more flexible about and more happy to actually deviate the conversation to whichever is more needed in the instant. So yeah, definitely empathy plays a big part, but I think it could only be achieved if you actually manage to get that balance and help your business partners to be able to do this balance themselves by educating them on the numbers part, developing a common language together. So I think this also helps the empathy, because it's not a one-way street, definitely. So it takes two to tango in empathy.
Yeah, I see.
Definitely.
I didn't know that companies can be classified as a mainly heart-driven, soul-driven, brain-driven. For me, because this is what I see, that P&L, balance sheet, income statement, doing business, pricing, competition is known for everyone, and especially when it comes to the same industry, FMCG.
Yep.
We see the same shelf together.
Yep.
But that was something new for me, where it's not only about the mind, soul, and heart of the finance business partner as well. Companies, they have three of them, but there is a dominant theme. Let me put this way, on the company itself.
Yes.
Which does impact the ways of working, the culture, and how it's embedded with the employees and how they deal with each other as well in the company itself.
Definitely. And impacts the execution. So it could be the same headline. And yes, we all care about, top line, bottom line, EPS, our shareholders' return. So yes, at the end of the day, it's numbers. Wall Street knows numbers. But then the way we do the business and the way of working and the way of priority setting. And as I said, it's the execution. I've heard the same headlines, work-life balance, true efficiency, improvement in terms of productivity. It's pretty much the same headlines. But then how you go about it, this is where this balance, where is the dominance, where's the forefront, what's taking leading in the forefront, and again, the balance. And I believe also there is an aspect of I can't be fair if I were to compare the companies without looking back to the times I was in which company. So
Fair.
There were years that were driving where the soul of the globe was more dominant. This is where you got the Paris agreements, you got the sustainability, but I can I can see how there is a DNA and there is an intrinsic, built-in style and leadership style of the organizations. And again, I consider myself super lucky that I got the chance to play in these different playgrounds and lead in those different playgrounds as a finance leader, to practice those skills. So but yes, definitely it's part of the DNA, and it's different between them, and they're all leading and winning in the marketplace. But then they're approaching it in a different
way. Okay. Now, because I can't get away from the empathy part.
Yeah.
If you can just explain how you practice empathy in your daily routine, because Reham, empathy requires some energy. It requires the focus, because if you don't do it right, it will be misunderstood and will make damage. Let me put it this way: damage.
Yeah.
This is the least I can use. So having the right empathy with the right understanding, put yourself in the person in front of your shoes and try to simulate and give the right answer or have the right conversation with that person. It required a lot of effort. How do you manage this on a daily basis?
I agree. I think I can say I have my blueprint, but definitely you end up changing things and adjusting as you go with different business partners, different companies, different countries, different developing world, developed world. So I cannot say there is one single way of doing it. But then I think by now I have my own blueprint, which starts with, we tend to use the word, put yourself in the shoes of your business partner. I actually take off my shoe and give one shoe to the business partner and take one shoe from the business partner. So I would say I'm not going to put myself in their shoes. I think we need to share the two pairs. We need to share them together. So I start, and I do this every time. The first day I am in a new job, starting with a new team, I have my business partners, and I start by saying, how much do you know about finance? Which part of the P&L you're more comfortable with? Which one you're not? Even if it's not within I'm not like a sales leader who's asking about a supply chain related matter, a supply chain leader asking about a marketing related matter. So which part are you comfortable? Which one, every time you hear it, you feel like, oh my God, that's going over my head. I have no idea what they're talking about. So, and this is the beauty of finance. I don't think we touched base on that, but that's what I love. Because through the 20 years, I could say that I've touched every corner of the business, every corner, with discussions that, starts where it could be with legal, with supply chain, with marketing, with sales, with go-to-market experts, with, I would say even we've had discussions with IT. So as finance, you get this chance to have a much wider lens on the organization. As an auditor, you end up, auditing. I think there was times when I audited contracts and real estate related matter and facility management. So you get really the chance to have a much wider lens to the business, and therefore you actually do have the edge to help others to unleash the understanding of the different processes across the business. So that's where I start. How can I help you to become a better finance person? And on the other side, I want you to make me a better, salesperson, if it's a sales leader or a supply chain person. And the second thing I do is I go to their playground. If their playground is the market, then we go to the market. If the playground is the factory, then we go to the factory. We go to the distribution center. I actually, with some of the marketing teams, with the R&D team, we went to focus groups. We went to tasting groups. So be there as part, recording the advertisement, going to the agency, reviewing the storyboards. Do it full-fledged. That's my blueprint. So get the chance. It is actually a luxury that, it's not just business and Excel. It's a luxury to get out of the office, get out, leave behind your laptop and go and see how's the business really being done. So, go to shipping lane, go to discussions on logistics, and So this is my blueprint. I start by investing time, especially at the beginning of my assignment, with the business partner, either on their turf, in their playground, or in a room, helping them to become a better finance knowledgeable person. And this is where it starts, and then eventually, and I kid you not, there are times where they are taking the financial decisions on behalf of me. I could be even not in the room, and I have this confidence that my partner, my business partner, is aware and capable of taking a financially sound decision. And there were times where they were on the phone, busy with something else, and they're asking me to take a decision that is eventually a sales decision, or a marketing related, or an innovation related, ROI related decision, that they feel comfortable that I know enough to take this balanced approach in terms of decision making. So I think eventually it doesn't become that difficult, because I think after some time, and I do see finance people coming to me and they say, "Oh, you became so marketing. You're such a marketeer now. Or you became so supply chain." And I find this a compliment. Actually, I take it as a compliment. Yes, the lines become more blurry in terms of who's who, because then this is really the partnership. Yeah.
Okay, so sometimes when you work as a detective, the brain, the mind part, and analyze some sales trend, supply chain, cost, any line of the P&L, and you came up with some insights that will not be easy to communicate and drive some performance with the stakeholders. How do you balance between managing stakeholders within the business and at the same time deliver the message of the insights and have a performance culture? We as a finance, we're known as the protecting value, and we're known as the performance management as well. You did many roles on the performance management. So how do you balance between both managing stakeholders and driving insights and performance management as well?
Okay, so that's a good one. Well, it's a tough balance. It will continue to be a tough balance, because there is times where the agendas clash, and that's a fact, a functional agenda. So I don't think there's times where the business agenda clashes, because we, at the end of the day, our performance is agreed in terms of KPIs. Our bonuses, our pay is based on it. So I think, frankly, there is never a business KPI performance clash. It's the way to go about it. And is this the shortest route? And is this the right route? And back to the question of why we're doing it this way and how we're going to achieve it. But the what, I believe, is to a great extent agreed. Now, I really think that there is an aspect of language, and that's why the better business partner you become, the closer business partner you become, the more standardized the language is, and the more easier it is to have those conversations, because you're using the same language, and you're clear on what is the need that is being addressed. Because at the end of the day, even as human beings, we all have certain needs, and once you understand where this person is coming from, this business partner, what is really stopping him or her from achieving their business KPIs, their functional KPIs, you would be able to marry this with the financial KPIs. So it's not about we want to achieve X gross margin, or X NOBIT, or growth in top line. It is more about why we're doing this. We're asking for pricing for a reason. We're asking the flow through from revenue to the bottom line. We're asking that for a reason. We are trying to achieve a better cost per unit from a supply chain standpoint, because this is our gross margin. This impacts the ability for us to maintain certain pricing competitiveness in the market. So I think there is this aspect of translating the financial KPIs into business KPIs that is understandable to the function that you're dealing with, and also within the realm of control. It's when we keep our lingo just a financial lingo, it makes it much more difficult for them to relate and much more easy for them to dismiss. So I think this is the beauty of being capable of translating the financial KPI to a functional KPI that they actually can control and can be proud and have the pride that they have achieved the improvement you're looking for. So when you say I want increase my gross margin by 2 percentage points, what does that mean? It really means for a supply chain person, it could mean that 60% of that 2%, given that this is the cost within supply chain, is within their control. So you're asking them to improve X million or X cent per unit. So it is converting that back to something that they can relate to, and also to give them something to lead their teams with. So something they can actually stand and say to their teams, yeah, we've improved so much. But if you leave it at only a financial KPI, I think it would be much more difficult for them to sell it to their own teams and to drive this buy-in from their organization.
Okay. But if I go a little bit deeper here.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Rehan, but that's like utopia, the best case scenario. The beginning of the year, we sit together, we agree on the KPI, the impact on the P&L, each function, their KPI, communicate to their team, and we work toward this. And any overperforming, underperforming, it will be obvious for everyone. I agree with you. But especially in the FMCG industry, there will be an ask. There will be a stretch.
Definitely.
There will be abnormal activity during the year. And then we take some hard calls between the functions, which creates some frustrations as well.
True.
And then as a finance, when we take an ask, we are the gatekeeper of that ask to keep the ask on track. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely agree. And actually now in this working in this business environment right now, the pressures of the volatility and inflation, pricing, availability of material, the business environment is becoming much more complex, much more ambiguous, much more real VUCA every day. So I completely agree with you. Things change, but I would go back to the fact that you've built the relationship and the empathy and the language that enables you to continue to be together in this. So as a team, as a business partner, we're together in the fact that we want to continue to aim to achieve the business KPI, and we understand that the way to it is filled with barriers and challenges. And because I understand your functional agenda, because you understand my financial KPI, we have built the bridge between us. So yes, there are days when I'm walking 75% of the way in the bridge towards my business partner, and there are days which I'm coming to them with new tasks and new asks, and they are walking the 75 or the 90% towards me. So, but I think building the bridge to start with, this is where the investment really needs to be in order for, because I tell you, last year, for example, it was a year where I can tell you hands down, every business did not end up with meeting those KPIs, or those who have achieved their KPIs couldn't have been done without crisis management, strong business partnership, because it was a tough year with the war, with everything going on. It was a tough year it hit developed world in multiple ways. So I think, yes, it is, you're right. There is this aspect of utopia in it, where we all want to achieve at the end the same KPIs we've set up before all those VUCA happen. But actually, it's not that difficult if we have the bridges and exchanged the shoes. So we're walking towards each other every time with different magnitude depending on the situation. Yeah.
Okay. There's a say that if you can't measure it, you can't. If you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it.
Completely agree.
So, what do you think as a finance business partner? How do you measure the success of your work?
Okay, so the typical answer would be, achieving the KPIs. So that would be my first response. But that's not my only, frankly, that's not my only success measure. I think of looking back at my business partnership style, and as I was telling you earlier, there is an aspect of it of trust. If we were to call it a trust-o-meter between me and my business partner, how much of the transparency on the P&L, so all the cushioning that happens to the P&L, to the budget, how transparent are we about that? So this is also my trust-o-meter on this, and frankly, it is achievable. Looking back, I think it was achievable cross-culturally, achievable cross different seniority, different function. I think it's very achievable because it all goes back to, we've built the language, we've built the bridges, we walk the journey together hand in hand. And then I measure also that by the flexibility my business partner and I could show towards each other in times of difficulty. This in this new world as well, it requires from the finance business partner to be able to question the process. We sometimes tend as finance to hide between this is the process, this is the policy. Sorry. I think the amount of times where I take my business partner, we go to the control organization, we ask them to sit with us to question what could be done differently, how can we manage the situation, what can we do about payment terms, how can we help our suppliers, it's tough times, what can we do about the forex, the availability. So yes, we do together manage conversations, and I see where they come again more, they walk more of the bridge towards me, and how much time I walk and bring others to walk with me towards the functional agenda and my business partner agenda. So yes, it is those times that actually give me a sense of success. The fact that we conquered together a difficulty, we came, on the other side, sometimes in a painful way, scarred, but achieved something that seemed impossible to achieve given all what's going around us in terms of challenges and changes. So.
If I reflect on what you're saying, there is achieving the KPI and then the quality of the achieving of the KPI.
True.
So being a finance person, you know that there is some shortcuts to deliver the KPI.
True.
And that's why, in a nutshell, if as a finance business partner, if you deliver the KPI with high quality of trust, relationships, strong bridges, positive attitude, positive environment, constructive discussion, that will be fabulous. Rather than just achieving the KPI and then the next year you cannot sustain it anymore because you didn't build the bridges in the previous year.
Exactly.
Now,
and I'll add something where I think the last part of that is when we celebrate. And I think there were times earlier in my career where I used to think of, that's what I used to experience, where the finance were a bit on the side of celebration. And you get like finance awards and finance recognition. But then, and this is another aspect of how I measure my success, it's when you start getting awards from the function. So the function thinks of you no more as a business partner. You're one of the team members who've actually helped in carving the success of the function for the year. And sometimes it's, again, because of what you mentioned about the how, it's not necessarily just because you've achieved, you've been rewarded, but it's because of how you made the experience of this partnership. You're being rewarded for that. So that's for me another success measure, which is how much in the times of celebration you remembered, not as a finance support function, but as a member of the team and the functional team. Yeah.
I didn't realize before, just spot on what you're saying, that Yes, you're right. Usually there is a finance award
Yep.
within the finance function, and then there is a business award where the rest of the business they celebrate supply chain, marketing, even
Exactly.
HR. And it's not about frontline
Yes.
business award. They give us they give the other function as well business awards. So I think it's a call out as an action, part of blending the finance to be integral in the business. That whenever they have business awards, finance should be there.
Exactly.
And not to be in the closed room with the finance where finance celebrate their own success.
Definitely.
That's a very good call out, Reham. I agree with you. Okay, now let's go deeper in a different discussion. As a finance business partner, you know that we were in a tough situation, given the material inflation, growth ambitious, competition movement in the market, forex, VUCA, all external factors, and you see your partner, whether a GM, MD, managing director, salesperson, supply chain leader, whoever in the business, taking some decisions that will hit the financial construct. It's not aligned, or it's not part of your forecast, or it's not part of your discussion with this person. And you see this live in front of everyone. How do you approach such a discussion?
Well, I always say something's got to give. So when I sit to the table with my business partner, I really start there, where we agree that together, in order to come out of this situation with a decision, something's got to give, which means some of our KPIs or some of our intended achievements will not go in full, will not be in full. So when we start with this, so we know that there's a compromise that's going to be made, and that, so at least we agree to that. So we start by agreeing that something is, and I'm not going to say someone, because we are compromising together, and therefore as a business we're going to make a decision, and we need to take a priority call on what will go and take at the first position in terms of no compromise, and what is going to take the last position in terms of some or a big compromise, depending on what we're talking about. So sometimes then becomes a question of what can we afford as an organization, and what does the future we suspect, and here where the finance business partner role becomes even more important, because you are, as a planner, you have, I'm not going to say you have the glass ball of the future, but you actually do have trends and analysis and understanding of what does the coming 3, 6, 9, 12 months look like. To a great extent, of course, things change, but you can help the business to take decisions that is now sounds like compromise on one of the KPIs, but because this will hold in the future, there is an easier way of compensating or mitigating the compromise that was just made. So to make that easier, let me just use an example. So payment terms. So there were times where there was no availability in some of the countries, as you know, in order, there's no forex availability, there's supplier and material availability issues, and it becomes a question, in order to change payment terms, you need to, it's such a big deal, you have to have different discussions, impact your cash flow, your operating cash flow. And this is a discussion that requires a compromise that would be made. It sounds easy, like to say, well, sorry, we can't do that because it will impact our cash flow and cash flow targets and everything. But then there's a question of, manufacturing lines stopping, fixed costs piling up. So it becomes easy when you look at the full picture to take a compromise decision. But I'll give you this now, but then maybe we need to question our inventory levels in order to offset another factor within our cash flow. So that's what I mean with something's got to give. We can't have everything, and we can't not, and we don't have the luxury to, miss our KPIs. So we need to be able to make a compromise, and timely, I think, the other aspect of it, that, as I said, you give me this now, I'll give you this later. So it becomes a question of trade-offs. But I think, back to the original question, it is a tough conversation, but I think when we again approach it as a team, as a one unit, we take the decision together. And again, back to the bridge, there are moments where they walk more as business partners, and there are times when the finance needs to take the bigger part of the move. So
okay. So speaking about the future, because time flies with you, Reham, so quickly on a few points. I cannot finish the discussion without tapping these 2 points. What are the challenges and the opportunities at the same time ahead of the finance business partner in the coming 5-10 years from now?
Okay, so the first thing that pops into mind is the AI.
AI.
Definitely. I think lately I've been involved in a couple of discussions and seminars on AI and the impact on, financial planning. And I see this as you said, it's a challenge and an opportunity. So the first, I would say, from an opportunity standpoint, I think it will make planning and financial leadership much more focused. I believe the AI and the machine intelligence would be able to cover, the normalized part of the planning, which is the 85%, the 75%, that range. But then there will be this part which needs the human financial expertise leadership that would take the plan and the future into adding a different lens to whatever the machine comes up with. So I believe there's this aspect of focus. You're no more, as a planner, looking at the full 100%. I think there will be an aspect of how to be very focused on the value bring to the table and the value bring to the business in the 25% that is not doable by machine, or at least the machine will not be able to add all the qualitative part that you can bring as a planner. So there's this aspect. I think there's the aspect of digitization, which also I wouldn't say this is new, but now I think it's becoming more and more built in our ways of working. That's also helping us as finance to be more focused with the business on the value creation versus in historical trends and making sure that reports are, readable, comparable, the same report every month. So I think all of that takes the planning or puts the challenge on the financial planner to actually be more focused, more I guess the word I'm looking for, relevant, more relevant, more in touch and focused. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think AI and digitalization will impact finance career in terms of opportunities?
Well, when we talk about finance, we talk about finance as a total. So all the way from accounting, control, planning, project management, system implementation, audit, so the full spectrum. And yes, there will be an impact. I believe there will be an impact. I think there will always be the aspect of the work that we're doing and how much of it is value creation and how much of it is repetitive governance, systematic part. And I believe that's the part where it would be an easier job for the machines to be leading the forefront of that. But then there will always be the aspect of the innovative mind, the creative mind, the creating a difference, changing the way things are being done. So I think machines will be good in things where, we've been doing it the same way and it is standard, and there's a policy that is accounting principle based, and all of that. I think this aspect will stay to a great extent, will be a great extent replaceable by machines. And if you ask me then what will we do, I guess we will have the chance to do better and a chance to contribute more to the value creation in the business, to finding the value, to focus on efforts of the organization to, be more sustainable, to be more future fit, to be more flexible, more agile. And this gives us a chance also as finance to become more and more leaders and sitting on the table at the decision making, rather than bigger part being in supporting the governance and being the trustee of the business. So that's how I see it. Yeah,
I think that's a fabulous point to lead us to the next question, which is in an indirect way you give the advice, but if you can articulate the advice, what advice would you give to the fresh new individuals joining the finance career in general across all the board, not only finance, business partnering, in the entire finance industry? What kind of advice you give to them?
Well, I would say keep developing your financial leadership, and I always like to use this word, which is financial leadership. It's not financial acumen, it's not financial knowledge, it's financial leadership. And in order to be a financial leader, you need to keep yourself relevant, keep yourself aware and abreast of all the changes that's happening in the business world. Also, education does not stop, in my view, and some might not be happy with what I'm going to say next, but it doesn't stop at certifications, accounting certifications. Take it further beyond that, because I think this is what would make us more relevant, make you as a new business partner, as a new finance leader, it would make you more capable to be more agile in your thinking, to be able to stir and be part of decisions that are not, and there isn't really finance only driven decisions anyway. So to be able to do business driven decisions, and to be able to be part of the overall global movement towards, sustainability, digitization, machine learning, all of that. I think we need to keep ourselves, fit for the future, definitely.
Okay. Reham, I think the giant FMCG, they are lucky to have you, and we are lucky in our podcast to have you. That was an interesting discussion, and you tapped all the points about the finance business partner. And thank you very much for accepting the invitation and being on Siatic as well, and joining the force as well to change. So thank you so much, and really nice seeing you again.
Thank you, Mahmoud. I'm seriously glad. I don't know how many words I can use to tell you. I'm really glad. I really think this initiative that you've embarked on is brave. It's an excellent way to share the knowledge. Finance for non-finance, is a big area and big topic, and I think I'm glad to see your efforts doing that, and I'm glad to reconnect finally after so many years. So my best wishes, and the best to you, to your listeners, and to everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Reham.